This chapter has shown you how the S7200 is positioned within the SIMATIC family, both as regards hardware and software. You are now aware that the S7200 can be used for many different automation tasks. You have learned that there are 5 different CPU versions of the S7200, which differ from one another primarily in terms of the number of inputs and outputs, as well as the size of their program and data storage. In this chapter, you will learn that a SIMATIC S7200 comprises a CPU basic device and optional expansion modules, the layout of a basic device, and the various expansion modules and their possible applications. The basic S7200 device comprises the CPU and the integrated inputs/outputs. The CPU handles the application program and stores and processes instructions and process data for the automation solution. The S7200 can be mounted on a base plate by means of integral mounting lugs or clipped to a top hat rail. The integrated power supply powers the CPU and all expansion modules. The operating mode switch as expansion module interface is located behind the access door. The CPU 221 is the only non-expandable CPU version. The CPU status LEDs show the CPU's current operating status at a glance: system error or diagnostics, run, stop. An automation system is connected with the machine via the digital inputs and outputs. Signals from the field devices, such as sensors and switches, are monitored via the inputs. The outputs control pumps, motors, or other devices. The input and output status LEDs provide you with a visual indication of the current status of the integrated inputs and outputs. A maximum of 126 subscribers or nodes, such as HMI systems, other CPUs, or programming devices can be connected via the integrated RS485 communication interface. The PPI protocol is used in homogeneous S7200 networks. In a network with TIA components, such as S7300 or S7400, the S7200 CPUs are integrated as MPI slaves. If the integrated interface is used with user-specific protocols, free ASCII protocol, in FreePort mode, the CPU can accept any peripheral such as printers, PC, barcode readers, or inverters. An optional plug-in EEPROM memory module allows you to store CPU programs or to transfer programs from one CPU to another. In addition to the pure programming and copying function, memory modules can also be used for data logging and for recipe administration. If required, files can also be held on the storage cards in any required format such as Excel, Word, PDF, etc. Alternatively, an optional plug-in battery module allows you to back up internal data. With the CPU 221 and CPU 222, there is an optional real-time clock module. This allows processing with timestamps on even the smallest members of the S7200 family. Starting with the CPU 224, the system already possesses an integrated real-time clock. The CPU 224XP also has integrated analog inputs/outputs. Removal terminal strips for independent wiring are to be found with the 224, 224XP, and 226 CPUs. In addition, the CPU 224XP and CPU 226 come with a second communication interface.